Welcome to the very first edition of Brand Buzz, where we look at what's trending daily and throughout the year. There's a growing sense of social inequality among users on social media, and they're using those platforms to try and make a difference. Offline, some consumers are voting with their wallets by boycotting high-profile American brands. McDonald's, Starbucks, and KFC have all seen sales fall in parts of Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. The franchise operator for KFC, Pizza Hut, Krispy Kreme, and Hardee's in the Middle East, Americana Restaurants International, has seen its shares fall by more than 20% on the Saudi Stock Exchange since last October. And Bloomberg reports that in countries from Egypt to Pakistan, local soft drink brands are getting more orders and better shelf space than American stalwarts Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Now, for more on the boycotts and their impact on companies, I'm joined by Seth Schechner. He's a managing director at Strat Americas, working with clients in a variety of areas, including social media. Seth, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be here, Lane.
So is this Blackout 2024 trend working in real terms? Let's start with those corporate boycotts I just mentioned, Starbucks, McDonald's. What has been the impact on their profit margins?
I mean, I think that's probably been, overall in the macro view of this, that's probably been the most significant piece of this. I mean, there, some of the profits have been down in the single digits or, the quarterly results. And, I think the corporate pressure, the enterprise pressure, particularly in these regions that are closer to the conflict where there are these perceptions or misperceptions about American brands and who's supporting what, has probably been the piece of it that I would say is the most impactful personally.
Well, part of it is also staying active on social media. It did seem to lose a little bit of steam quickly, but these issues are still at the forefront, as you mentioned, making headlines. So to that part, how much do the algorithms that come through on social media play with some of these online boycotts?
I think that's a huge piece of it. It's been. I think there are people that I think obviously everyone recognizes everyone's need to have a voice, on all sides of this conflict. And I think it's been rather extraordinary how TikTok has been adopted as a socio-political vehicle for people to express their points of view. Started a long time ago, actually, not just around this point of view. But yeah, I do think the algorithms and the social media response, keyed off by keywords and algorithms is a very important piece of it. And I think, I come from the world of music and entertainment, and, at least compared to some of the sort of traditional entertainment properties I've seen, I think it's fair to say that some of these things don't last as long as, say, things in traditional media would put. I've certainly seen that in music, but it's unclear how that will play out, basically, at least whether it's short term or long term.
Well, and how much does age and generation have to do with this as well? I mean, are we seeing, I guess, the target group, the age groups with the spending power, are they the ones who are boycotting, or what are you seeing in terms of people here?
That's a great question. I think that's reflective of these platforms' audiences. So, if you look at like aging trends in terms of who watches, say, network news, for example, the median age is pretty old. It's well north of 50. I think it's up in around 60. So this, I think for the TikTok crowd, that's clearly, while it is a very broad base of the population, it is probably fair to say this is a younger skewing audience that's for it, basically. And I think that's kind of why you're seeing some of the explosions, the activity around followers and trying to block folks out. Because I think probably some of the people in the causes are looking at the celebrities and saying, look, we can hit them in the same way we're hitting brands, by blocking them, which can kind of cut off and really interfere with engagement and what brands look at. So it's a very, putting aside anything politically, it is a very impactful strategy, I think, to take, basically. But I would bet it's probably younger skewing.
So, Seth, how would you advise companies who have brand partnerships with celebrities or some of these social media influencers? Because if they're getting sort of this backlash or the unfollows online, I mean, how does that kind of go into their thinking of, do we keep this person? Do we drop this person? I mean, what's the thinking on the corporate side?
This is another great question, and I don't think there's a specific single formulaic answer. I've worked with lots of celebrities myself when I was with Sony and outside of Sony, and I think it's usually a function of the individual artist or celebrity and what their karma is all about, what they want to communicate. They all have branding strategies. Some of them have their own foundation that are very, very heartfelt to them. And I think if you're a brand and you're spending, you're engaging, it's probably all about engagement with that individual to understand them. So I think that's a function of staying close, understanding what their plans and goals are, and it's not controlling the communications, but it's kind of riding along with it. This specific thing, the blockout, is very, very difficult because I think you could say one thing either way and you're going to get slammed for it, basically. So it probably is, engaging very closely with who your partner is.
All right, a fun conversation and very timely. Seth Schachner, thank you so much for joining us from Los Angeles.
Good to be here.